Whether you're brand new in the gym or you've been lifting for several years, the reality is that there's some muscle groups on your body that just aren't as important as others. That's why a lot of times right off the bat, you see a lot of gym bros start to skip legs because they don't really care. They want that big, aesthetic, filled out upper body, so they neglect their legs. But the problem is when you start to neglect certain muscle groups, you start to develop these weak points in your physique. So let's say you're trying to bring up your chest, maybe your side delts, or maybe your hamstrings. How do you actually prioritize that muscle so you can get that muscle to grow? Well, it's actually pretty simple. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how I did that to bring up my weak points, and you can too. So one of the first things you're gonna wanna do is make sure that the target muscle that you're trying to grow is actually doing the work in the exercises that you're doing. An example of this is if you're doing a chest press and you wanna target your upper chest, you don't want your elbows flared up like this. You wanna tuck your elbows at around a 45-degree angle to better line up with your upper pec fibers. Make sure you're not rolling your shoulders forward because your front delts will start to take over. And if you're doing something like flies, make sure you're not turning it into a bicep curl. You can actually take your forearm and your wrist out of movement by holding the fly machine closer to the elbow joint. These are simple ways that you can change the exercises that you're already doing to target the muscles that you want to grow, keeping the tension on those muscles. So the goal is to have full range of motion. You want to be able to control the weight and have good form and make sure you're exploding out of the bottom of the movement. The faster you can press, the more power you're going to have, the more muscle you're going to start to develop. And it just makes sure that you're actually training the muscle that you want to grow and not letting your other surrounding or stabilizing muscles take over. Now, the next thing is you need to start focusing on actually doing productive sets and not just doing these fatigue building fluff exercises or movements that these fitness influencers are posting online because they look crazy and they get a lot of views. So where most people go wrong is they chase a crazy pump with drop sets, supersets, or a crazy amount of volume, thinking that it's going to grow their muscles faster, but that's just not the case. What it's really doing is increasing their fatigue. It's going to kill their recovery time and hurt their gains because they can't train as frequently. So do straight sets near or as close to failure as you can. Take adequate rest between your sets and go into the gym with an intention to actually make every rep and every set count. You're not just in there to throw weight around and get a pump. You're there to target a muscle and make it bigger. So stop doing 15 sets of chest in one workout because by the time you hit set 5, 6, 7, 8, your form's gonna start to break down. Your surrounding muscles are gonna start to take over and you're just adding junk volume into your workouts that is unnecessary. So by increasing frequency, this means do more work throughout the week, but spread out the work that you're doing. So a good example of what you can be doing is do a few exercises per session, but only do 1 to 2 sets of that exercise, but make sure they're really productive and really you're training with intensity and intention. Do that 2 to 3 times a week. Make sure you're getting 48 to 72 hours of rest between when you're hitting each muscle group because recovery is when you're gonna grow. Now you're gonna be hitting a muscle when it's more fresh, more often, and with real intention. So you're not gonna be creating unnecessary fatigue, which brings me to the next point. If you have a lacking muscle group, simply hit it first in your workout. Your muscle building stimulus is gonna be the strongest when you first start to work out in your first few sets before you have accumulated any fatigue to your central nervous system. So if your biceps are lacking, hit them first. Hitting a muscle first in a workout is such an easy way to skyrocket the gains that you're gonna see when you're training that muscle. Now, what nobody really talks about is if you have these weak points, that probably means that you're having an imbalance because something else is a strong point. It's taking over in your movements. So you can stop spamming your strong points with unnecessary volume. Here's an example. If your chest is a strong point and your biceps are a weak point, and on an upper day, you can train biceps first. You can train chest towards the end of your workout. All you really need is 1 to 2 hard sets with good intention, making sure you're hitting the weak point while it's fresh right after your rest days. So prioritize what you're trying to grow and everything else you can sort of maintain it pretty easily. And you don't have to waste training time or recovery time trying to keep your strong points strong. To bring it all together, you need to dial in your form so that the target muscle you're trying to work is actually working. You need to stop chasing fatigue and focus on doing more productive sets. Lower your volume per session, but increase the frequency. Hit your weak points more often and hit them first. And stop spamming unnecessary work for your strong points because the whole point is to bring up your lacking muscle group. So if you do all of these things, the weak points you have, they will not be weak for long And if you're doing all these things and your weak points aren't growing, well, to be honest, you might be cooked. No, but I'm just kidding. If you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to reach out to me on Instagram. I'm more than happy to help if you're stuck or just need advice on anything at all. And don't forget to subscribe because we're building the best version of you right here, right now.